Hello, driver's debrief vlog for the 29th of September, that was today. I did get a lesson this time with Tony. Last time obviously his tyres got popped. Apparently it was because he drove down a road somewhere with one of his students where there were like loose screws in the road, facing up I guess, because they'd gone into his tyre. His left-hand front tyre and punctured it. And he said he doesn't normally just replace one tyre at the front on one side, so he replaced both tyres at the front. And then after that he was driving at a different time down the same place and he got a different screw in one of his back tyres. But luckily those ones didn't puncture his tyres, so he managed to get the tyre actually repaired rather than replaced. So it could have been hell of expensive. He had to replace all four tyres. I'm not sure why he replaced the one that was fine on the front opposite the one that took the screw, but I guess it's a habit. Maybe if he doesn't do it, then he's got two different tyres at the front and it doesn't work out so well. So today I was very rusty because it's been 2 weeks. This lesson today, 2 weeks before that was the past lesson that I had. Sorry about the traffic you can hear through the tiny gap in the window there. It's a bit loud today. Don't know if that's picking up on cam. Also, I've got 40 minutes on this battery, I think. And sometimes it lies to me because we're on the Sony AX33 cam today. Drove into the Hellmouth town. It was a similar mission to what we did last time. We went up by Mount House School, up past Greenland's estate entrance, except instead of turning right immediately at the junction onto Down Road, we turned left and we went up the golf links. And there we took an opportunity to get used to some of the gears and stuff, because coming up from the village, you know, I was quite stiff on the steering wheel, because I hadn't driven in ages, and I could tell I hadn't had any regular experience since then, and it was messing with my steering. So we went up on the Tavi golf links and did some starts and stops and worked through gears and stuff like that. Did one junction, went up to Plasterdown so we could see Pewtor. It was a lovely sunny day out there today. He pulled me into a bay down at Plasterdown before it left the down, because he needed to do a reverse to get in there, I think, and I hadn't been taught reversing by him yet. I believe I did reversing all those years back in 2010 with Andy, but I haven't done any with him yet. So we drove back from Plasterdown opposite direction to get to Down Road. So over the golf links again. There are a couple of sheep knocking around and a walker. We got to Down Road and there's not actually a junction from that direction to turn to Down Road, and there's not a junction to get onto the start of Down Road either. And then you get funneled into the cattle grid through what Tony calls the tunnels, where the parked cars are either sides. And then we parked up around halfway up Down Road on the side of the road, and then he began briefing me for the task for the day, which was mini roundabouts. So he was showing me the basics, you know, basic theory on how to engage with mini roundabouts, and he showed me like video he'd captured with his other students on his little Techno iPad of what we were going to do. I basically knew most of it. One thing he highlighted that I didn't know was that, you know, the basic rule is you give way at the junction to traffic coming from your right, unless there's a shield that comes round, which is a car or a truck or van or something comes around the corner in front of that traffic from the right that was gonna come out to pull out in front of you. You get shielded from them, and then you have an opportunity to go, like a window of time while you're shielded to make your move. But you don't always give way to traffic on the right, because sometimes traffic on the right is waiting in 2 lanes. I didn't notice this for a while when I was watching driving vids and things. If there's 2 lanes, then there's traffic on your right, and the one in the left lane as it appears to you, which is the right lane as it appears to that driver, is gonna come in front of you, and that's what you need shielding from. But the traffic waiting in the right lane as it appears to you, left lane as it appears to that traffic, is going to bypass you, just come past you on your right. So you don't need to give way to that, else you'll just be sat there for ages not going onto the roundabout thinking you have to wait for that car because it's going to come around in front of you, but it's not going to come around in front of you. So you don't always have to give way to traffic on your right at a roundabout. There's that exception to the rule which changes it. So that's something I didn't know. We went around the Hellmouth town, Tavistock. We started at the first roundabout, was the mini roundabout at the bottom of Pixon Lane, and then we went off to the south. We went south to the graveyard roundabout, as he calls it, next to the vet centre. That was pretty easy, kind of straight line, no signal. No, you do signal there, because else people could be confused and think you might be doing a U-turn or going around to the vet centre, so you do signal on that mini roundabout. Went over to the Morrison's roundabout. That was nearer a normal size roundabout. Looped around that quite tight and then went back. It looked like traffic was coming from somewhere, but he just went, "Trust me, go." And I was like, okay. Just kind of went with what he said, but I didn't quite understand because it did look like traffic was gonna come out in front of me there. Made it through, went back to the vet's graveyard roundabout, went to what he calls a school roundabout, which is the Pixon Lane roundabout. Bypassed that, went past the Drake's statue roundabout, which is a proper roundabout, not a mini, but we were just turning left, so it was the easiest manoeuvre you can do on it. That has like 2 lanes approaching from every side, I think. 2 lanes in one direction, 1 lane in the other direction for all 3 spokes. So anyway, we went north of that to the roundabout where the spa is. There used to be a petrol station there, there's not now. That one you have to kind of... Well, there was a... Before we entered the junction, there was a guy with his van door almost hanging open. So we had to watch out for that. Then we had to go slow once we got around the white paint of the mini roundabout, because there's tons of parked cars on the left. I think they're probably always there, or most of the time they're there. Then we went up that road, and there's a mini roundabout that I didn't know about, that I always thought was just some roads. Just not even like there was one junction leading to it, but I didn't know it was a roundabout. It's because the paint's faded on the roundabout, so every time I've walked past it, I've not noticed it's a roundabout. We turned left there, which is a very, very U-bend sort of left, coming first exit of the roundabout. Nothing was coming, luckily. I went into first gear and I thought he was telling me to go into second gear. Apparently he wasn't. He told me later. And we had to go around that very slowly to get the bend right, because it's an extreme bend. You're basically coming right back on yourself. Went up there, that's the road to Treetops Estate, which we didn't go to. We went past the Tabby Hospital, and then we went like through a bit where there's a sign that says the road narrows ahead, and then there's like a bridge. I think that's the bit that goes over the old viaduct, which I walked under. And then we got to a bit where we turned right into a housing estate, and it's called... What is it called? I don't rightly know what it's called, actually. Not telling me on Google Maps. It's coming off the old Launceston Road. Oh, it's called St. Mary Hay or something? Something like that. Went right up there, then took a left, and there's another mini roundabout there, underneath an estate called the Heights, which was quite nice, which I think I've walked by once when I was working in town. There's like an old manor house in the estate, but they've turned the manor house grounds into a housing estate, so it's all suburbia there. But there's like a great big kind of green grassy park island with trees, and then the road goes around that. And then there's a tiny, like the tiniest roundabout you can imagine around a tree, which has actually like 5 exits. Quiet as hell, just no one around, because it's like a housing estate. I guess they have old people like living here. It's like elderly care homes probably around here somewhere. It's that kind of estate. Just went very slowly to get around this tiny tree island. It's smaller than a mini roundabout, this tree you've got to go around, so you've got to go around on the clutch in first, and then yeah, came out of that, and I think that was about it. We went home after that. I did get stuck a bit coming out. What is this road called? The road called Butcher Park Hill, which becomes Drake Road. And there was just a long stretch of a load of parked cars on the right. And it looked to me like on the left of that, 2 cars could fit in side by side. But Tony was telling me, no, only 1 car could fit in side by side. You might be able to squeeze 2 cars in side by side, but they'd be like a really tight fit. So it's not worth it, he said. So so he held me back at the start of this little thing where Butcher Park Hill becomes Drake Road off the Glanville Road junction, and then as soon as we held back from it like he told me to, the van that was going to come through in front of us actually just pulled in and flashed us, so we ended up going through anyway. Went across, Drake Road then becomes Abbey Place, and then it becomes Drake Road again, very confusing. And then he got us to the roundabout, another roundabout. There's so many roundabouts actually, which is in the town centre, next to the NatWest. And then he turned us left up Duke Street and Brook Street, which is the actual town centre of the Hellmouth town. And so I was thinking, hazards, hazards, hazards. It wasn't too bad actually, but that's where all the shoppers are and crossing the road constantly. So to get back, we went up Brook Street, which is this main shopping street, and then past Lawson's, it seems to become Parkwood Road. And then there's a peculiar thing on Parkwood Road. You know you're not meant to indicate. Like if you're coming out to a T-junction or a roundabout, you're not meant to indicate before it too soon in case there are like other roads coming off the road you're on the left. Well, there's one of those roads coming off on the left, but it's right exactly at the junction. So he said if it's quiet, you should just indicate left anyway, because it won't confuse people and they'll think you're going at the T-junction rather than this side road, which is called Yelverton Terrace, I guess. But if something's there, then you have to wait and indicate left directly after that road, like for a millisecond, while I guess on the giveaway line to the junction. So that was an education, I guess. And then we headed back. So on that one I was rusty. Because it'd been 2 weeks, I struggled with gears, knowing what gears to do, struggled with the clutch a few times, just little niggling things here and there, really quite annoying. And I know it's because of that 2 week gap, but luckily next week I've been given 2 sets of 2-hour driving lessons, which will use up my first block of 10, I think. Yeah, well, because I've just done my 11th and 12th hour, that's what this was. Then I've got one on Tuesday morning next week, and I've got one on Thursday morning next week, which should be good because it means I don't have to take a break from it and maybe stuff will start to sink in. Anyway, that was today's lesson. He also, at the end of the lesson, he showed me on his little video iPad that Pixon Lane roundabout, which he calls school roundabout, where there'd been a car accident and there was just a car lying on its side almost in the middle of the roundabout, and there was another car off to the left where that had probably hit this one, and a police car there and stuff. I was just like, what speed must you have been going onto that roundabout that nearly everyone I've seen approaches slowly for him to go on his side and crash? That was crazy. Oh yeah, I also mentioned I was looking at the Mitsubishi Lancer because it looks like a cool car to me. I've seen some reviews, some people say it's got shitty things about it, like the paintwork isn't very good. And one reason I don't like it is the rev counter and the miles per hour dial are reversed. I like the revs on the left and the right. It's reversed. Same with all Volvos actually. But I was looking at this Mitsubishi Lancer and I saw someone reviewing it or something, and right at the front on the dash it's got something that like a button to turn your passenger airbag off. And I was like, Tony, why would you want to turn your passenger's airbag off? And he joked at first like, oh, you probably want to kill him. Like, I was imagining, you know, Goldfinger, the Bond film where Sean Connery's got an ejector seat for his passenger side.
You see the gear lever here? Now, if you take the top off, you'll find a little red button. Whatever you do, don't touch it.
No, why not?
Because you'll release this section of the roof and engage and fire the passenger ejector seat. Whoosh.
Ejector seat? You're joking.
I never joke about my work, 007.
But he said No, it's probably if you have a baby seat that is facing backwards. And I didn't know you could get these, but apparently you can have a baby seat that goes in the passenger side of your car, and it's facing so their baby has their back to the windscreen. Now, I'd never seen that before. I thought all child seats are like facing forward. But apparently if you have an airbag, it fucks that up, because you can launch the child into the seat rest if you crash. So there's a button to disable airbags, just for if you've got a baby in that position in the front. It's really strange. I'd never even thought of that. Not that I'm planning on carrying babies around for any reason. Anyway, that was my driving debrief for today. The 29th of September. Thank you for watching.
Hey! Where do you think you're going? Going home.